During the war in Ukraine, Oryx analysts found 140 visual confirmations of the destruction or damage of Russian T-90M Proryv tanks. The latest cases of this model being lost, confirmations of the destruction or damage of Russian T-90M Proryv tanks. The latest cases of this model being lost were due to a hit from a $300 FPV drone, which destroys equipment worth several million. The 429th Separate Unmanned Systems Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Achilles, has once again demonstrated how inexpensive kamikaze drones with a first-person view are changing the balance of power on the modern battlefield. During recent operations, Ukrainian operators used FPV drones to strike and disable a Russian T-90M Proryv, the most advanced and most expensive main battle tank in the Russian arsenal. Despite its advanced armor and defenses, the $4.9 million machine proved extremely vulnerable to a swarm of drones that cost several times less. Army Recognition Portal explains what damage FPV drones cause to Russian tanks with modern protection and why Western weapons manufacturers should pay attention to this. The T-90M, which officially entered service with Russia in 2020, is the pinnacle of Russian armored vehicle development with improved Relikt reactive armor, an upgraded fire control system, and increased survivability designed to counter modern ATGMs. However, its defeat by Ukrainian FPV drones highlights the growing threat from cheap and easy-to-deploy UAVs that can target tanks' weak points, such as the engine bay, optics, and combat gear. In this case, drone operators from the Achilles unit successfully bypassed traditional armor protection by directing drones with payloads into the tank's most vulnerable areas, forcing the crew to evacuate and disabling the tank. This incident not only signals a tactical success for Ukraine, but also raises concerns that extend far beyond the current conflict. For NATO, this event is a clear demonstration that even the most advanced MBTs in the West's arsenal, such as the German Leopard 2A8, the American M1A2 Abrams SEP V3, or the upcoming British Challenger 3 tank, are susceptible to the same vulnerabilities when subjected to mass FPV drone attacks. These Western tanks were designed to withstand penetrating munitions and guided missiles, but their armor and active protection systems are not optimized to counter swarms of small, precise, and disposable air systems attacking from unusual angles. The war in Ukraine has completely changed the way tanks are used. Tanks, once considered the decisive spearhead of ground offensives, are increasingly forced to operate under constant threat from aerial reconnaissance and UAV attacks. This change has not affected the relevance of heavy armor, but has created an urgent need to adapt tank doctrine and technology. Survival no longer depends on passive protection, but on the ability to repel aerial threats before they strike. Anti-drone solutions, from electronic jammers and radar-guided missiles to compact directed energy systems, will be a major part of tank modernization in the future. A retired German Leopard 2 tank commander told Army Recognition, "The war in Ukraine proves that armored vehicles cannot rely on their armor alone. If drones worth a few hundred euros can destroy tanks worth several million euros, our doctrine will have to change immediately. Defenses must be both electronic and physical." An American defense analyst also emphasized that NATO tanks are not immune to this threat. If every armored brigade does not have electronic warfare and jamming capabilities, as well as directed energy weapons, NATO will suffer catastrophic losses in the early stages of a future high-intensity conflict. Ukrainian forces are gradually driving Russian troops back from parts of Sumy Oblast. For example, the Ukrainian military said that it had pushed Russian forces back by about 2 kilometers on part of the Sumy front in northern Ukraine. Recall, Sumy Oblast, which shares a long border with Russia, has been under near constant attack since the start of the full-scale invasion in 2022. At present, fighting was raging near the villages of Oleksiivka and Yunakivka, which lie 5 kilometers and 7 kilometers from the Russian border, respectively. Ukrainian forces report significant progress towards North Slobozhansk, with an advance ranging from 1 to 2.5 kilometers into territory previously controlled by Russian forces. The Sumy region borders Russia's Kursk region, an area that last year was caught in a surprise Ukrainian offensive during which parts were temporarily taken by Kiev forces, but later retaken by Moscow. Recently, Ukraine's military said it had taken back a village in the Sumy region from the Russian army, which has made significant recent gains. Ukrainian troops have liberated and completely cleared Russian forces from Bez-Salivka, the military general staff said in a telegram post. It said 18 Russian troops had been eliminated in the fighting. The village is on the front line in the north of the country and about 20 kilometers west of the main fighting between the two armies in the northern region. Russia, which invaded Ukraine in February 2022, launched a renewed offensive in Sumy in April after reclaiming its own region of Kursk from Ukrainian forces. Russian troops are currently about 20 kilometers from the regional capital of Sumy, which has been the target of frequent deadly shelling attacks. The focus on the Russian offensive is on eastern Ukraine, where it has stepped up gains in recent months against its less well-equipped opponents. Recall, since March, Russia has reportedly taken control of about 20 square kilometers in northern Sumy Oblast, including roughly a dozen small villages. As of May 31st, mandatory evacuations were ordered for 213 settlements. In May, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered his military to create a so-called security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine, while Zelensky said on May the 28th that Moscow had massed 50,000 troops near Sumy. In a separate interview with Bild on June the 12th, Zelensky dismissed Moscow's claims of significant territorial gains as a Russian narrative aimed at shaping global perceptions. He stressed that Ukrainian forces have managed to hold off a renewed offensive for nearly 3 weeks.